Okay.
We're official.
Hi, everyone.
Welcome back, everyone. Season 2, Episode 2 of Truth Hour. Thank you all for joining us.
Yes. So how are you doing, Cliff?
I mean, I after our call earlier and you said I lacked the energy, I went and made some coffee. So now hopefully got some liquid energy.
Look, you guys, he needed all of the energy, okay?
That should be the name of a coffee brand. Liquid energy. Liquid energy? Does that exist? Or is that too many syllables? Maybe. I don't know if people are going into Ralph's talking about, can I buy some liquid energy?
But maybe when they're referring to liquid energy, they're thinking about those 5-hour energy drinks. I think, yeah, so probably not.
But those are life too. I live on those things.
Do they really work for you?
I mean, yes. So I
would follow.
Learned the hard way. Sometimes 5-hour energy doesn't work back to back. Like you can't take 5, get your 5, and then take another one. Like, well, I'm gonna get another 5. Like you can't stack them. But that first one definitely works. Hit it at about 10, 11 p.m. You'll be good till 3 in the morning.
Maybe
for those of us that need to continue.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's when it's time to go to bed, it's time to go to bed. And I'm just gonna leave it at that. So do we want to start off with okay, I just like it. Okay, go ahead.
Put those up. All right. So let me get.
We apologize because Instagram, you guys, we're going to claim in 2021 that they will change this and allow us to be able to show pictures on the screen somehow, some way. So just so you know, we're showing a picture right now of the Vogue cover of our soon to be tomorrow officially new VP Kamala Harris for the Vogue cover. And it is quite a clear distinction in terms of what the issue might be, or I don't know, Cliff. What did you think about the Vogue issue before I give my opinion?
It's interesting because I first saw the Converse photo, and so I had no idea that there was a controversy, that there's better picture existed, and it was weird. As a layman photographer, right? I never took a photography class in high school or undergrad. I enjoy photography. As a person just as an amateur observing the photo, I just thought, oh, that's an odd one to choose for a future VP. And you're Vogue, right? Like you should be able to pay for the best of the best photographers, have the best of the best lighting. And it was just an odd, because it was like, I didn't feel like that needed to be a full body. She wasn't lit very well. And she was kind of smirking, like she wasn't prepared for that to be the shot. It just, everything about that image was like, this is strange. And then I saw the hashtag and I was like, oh, what do we have here? Vogue is out here again. And that's when I was like, oh, okay, now this makes sense. Apparently they have a history of this stuff. Like with the LeBron James, and I forget that white woman where they had him like the ape when like King Kong on top of the building. Like, so weird.
Yeah. Well, it's not even just Vogue. It is the media. It's in the media, right? So this is one of those situations where they clearly lack the sensitivity and they don't have someone of color, because I'm not even going to say just black, right? They didn't have someone there to say, maybe we shouldn't cast this. This is also going to be the first female vice president that our country has seen. And if we actually want to be part of the conversation outside of just being labeled in fashion, and we're inserting ourselves into the political conversation or we're talking about advocacy, awareness, why not do the right thing? So this also showed a few things. One, they don't listen, and they don't listen, and they clearly had no intention of actually taking their suggestions, taking their suggestions. Why? I mean, there's an approval process for everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
So why even reach out to the team and make it seem as if they would be able to have final say on what goes out? That's with anyone that's deciding to put their face on your product. They should be able to decide how it is that they want to be conveyed. Like, do they want to be represented as such? And so it was definitely a miscalculation. Not more, I would say more than a miscalculation. Oh, go ahead.
And to that end, so I'm going to put up the images because you made an important point. Because future VP Kamala Harris's team did not approve of this cover.
Yeah, that's the main thing. They did not approve of that one.
They approved of this cover. And so, like anyone
right. And just so for the people that are on Instagram that can't see, the distinction in the photos is that in one photo, the photo that was approved by her team, she's in a full, so like a soft blue suit. In the second photo, appears more casual. She has on a black blazer, jeans, and chucks. That's cool. But that photo is meant to be inside the insert. That's the insert for the magazine, not the cover of the magazine. And
what's frustrating, most Black people, and I imagine other melanated folks, this isn't just an issue for Black people, they never light us properly. And so if you just look at the lighting difference of the two.
Oh, yeah, that too.
It was like, they didn't even try.
That didn't even look like the photo that was the final edit. That probably was just the shot. Yeah.
Everything about it was like, why is this the photo that was chosen for this person in this moment, like this historic time? They could have sold, those things would have flown off the shelves. But now I think there's a boycott. I don't think anyone, I don't know anyone that's going to be buying this magazine. It's almost insulting to think that they would improperly like her, go with an unapproved photo. And it's just, everything about it was bad. And I had no reason to be a fan of Vogue before, and I'm definitely not a fan of Vogue after this nonsense.
Yeah, there's no reason for me to give them my money. So, So we'll see if for any other magazines or, anyone that would like to cover her, I hope they're listening. I honestly, but moving on as we're on the eve of the inauguration.
And if she wins in 4 years, she'll most likely be the Time Person of the Year. Because they tend to give that to the person who wins the U.S. presidential election that year. I mean, Obama tied the record, right? He's been Time Person of the Year 3 times.
I believe so. I know he's definitely been Times Person of the Year more than 2 times for sure. The number, not sure.
Not sure. Well, people help us out in the comments.
Yeah,
there is a number out there, and we'll one day learn it. But we'll move on to Biden's immigration policy, and it's interesting. I asked my AP Gov students what are the types of issues they would like to see Biden address in his inaugural, and this came up. So
immigration. Okay.
I'm curious to hear your thoughts on maybe Biden's. And you might incorporate some of his cabinet picks, but what do you think is going to be Biden's kind of agenda as it pertains to immigration policy?
So in terms of the new immigration policy, what I hope to see, or you mean what do I think what will actually happen? Because those are two different things, right?
Well, what would you like? Because I know what I would like. Actually, we haven't discussed.
Yeah, I don't think we've actually
what Biden's gonna do, but we haven't actually discussed how you and I feel on this. So I'm curious what your thoughts, like what you would want in your ideal president, and what do you think Biden's doing?
Okay. Oh, well, I mean, hands down, the immigration code needs to be rewritten. That, I mean, yeah, that's one thing where I feel, and again, you have to address the root like you have to address things at the root, and that code, the way that the code is written, it will not I think that we'll just continue to have everything in piecemeal until that's fixed. So that's one, I mean, so for me, that's a very big ask. But I mean, hey, if you start now, who knows what could happen at the end of the 4 years? A lot of people probably didn't think that we would have healthcare reform in the first 4 years of President Obama's, first term. So I don't think that it's impossible, but but again, you have to be willing to take on that task. And if we are saying that we want to, if we want to be able to provide opportunities and better opportunities for the people that have already contributed so much, again, because we're allowing people to come here from other countries. They receive an education here, but then we don't want to equip them with visas, or we create further obstacles for them or their families. And then we're saying that we allow for amnesty, but do we really, if in fact we continue again to put further obstacles in place for them to not be able to succeed when they're here? There needs to be serious overhaul with the reforms, and if it's going to happen, it has to happen within the first 4 years. This is one of those things where I'm frustrated, right? In terms of what didn't take place in the last 4 years, or what maybe did not take place under Obama's administration. I'm not taking away from what they tried to do, but there is a lot of built up frustration because I have friends that are immigrants. And so I have seen what that looks like for them. So, I don't think that it's fair to have them or their family members just waiting and being in the shadows and not able to like live their lives as fully as they would like because they're waiting for citizenship. So they need to make bold moves within the first 100 days.
I think in addition to his plan as it relates to kind of the 11 million people, to your last point, I would like to see a reduction in the length of the naturalization process. It always seemed odd to me that a process would take 10 plus years, considering individuals have been living here, clearly know the history of this country better than people born here, oftentimes. Productive members of society, humanitarians, people doing public service, right? I mean, if you care about money, they're paying taxes. So, like, to me, immigrants have always been a net positive on every element of our society. And this idea that we're going to create a 10-plus-year process for a few, even individuals that have left for various reasons. It kind of boggles the mind.
Right.
So LA Times published.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, no. Okay. You're getting ready to pull it up because I was going to mention that naturalization process where you said it was 10. And then I believe now they're looking to cutting it down to 5 years. And even with that, I mean, that 5, I mean, I'm done. 5 years. If in fact you're already saying that they've had to have been here since January 1st, 2021, please do not tell me that you're now saying 5 years from this date when there's been people that have been waiting for longer periods like that. That's, to me, that's not fair.
And to be clear, these policies are really only enforced on brown immigrants.
Oh,
European immigrants don't face some of these same fears with ICE and
Mm-hmm.
in these federal agencies.
Right.
But
Mm-hmm.
I think one day we're gonna have to talk about Abolish ICE on here. I think it's
Right.
probably not
Oh,
time today,
absolutely.
but
Yeah.
I think that's a worthy conversation. People look at folks that are on like in the progressive end of the political spectrum as radicals. But if we think, I mean, ICE is pretty young, right? Wasn't ICE developed like
That
after
was
VHS?
yeah, so that ICE came about, I want to say during
W?
Bush's presidency.
I'm pretty sure it was
I
W, but it was
believe
even
so.
after
Yeah,
Homeland Security. It's pretty new.
yeah, it is fairly new. Hmm. But
So
yeah,
mhm.
we definitely will have to come back to that because I would love to talk about that. Hmm.
So what we're going to hear, we probably won't hear the process so much in tomorrow's inaugural address, but the plan for Biden is to have a mixture of both executive orders and policies that the administration lays out, meaning the federal agencies, right, are going to be implementing these new policies, and as well as trying to kind of push Congress further along to get actual legislation passed. Because remember, the only permanency is when it comes to his desk from the Congress and he gets to sign a bill into law. Because executive action and departmental proposals and policies, all well and good and great, right? It's good for the goose and the gander, but it's not law. And if it's not law, it's temporary. So if the Democratic Party loses in 4 years, all the traction that they might have got via executive action and departmental policy is all going to go away, right, with the stroke of a pen. So it is really important for him to convince Congress to go along with some of these plans. So proposed legislation to offer a path to citizenship for the 11 million people currently living really in secrecy in this country. And that's problematic for a number of reasons, because people need access to health care. And if you're sick and you're an immigrant and you're fearful of being deported, you're not going to go seek out the necessary health care to keep you and your family safe. And that is actually dangerous for all of us, not just for those individuals directly impacted. We're all indirectly impacted by that.
Right, exactly. And just want to point out too, the roles in which they serve, right? A lot of the roles that they've taken are support roles, which is why more so you've seen Black and brown people impacted by COVID, because already for like, again, it's the healthcare issue just at the basis or at the foundation, and then you topple that with COVID and these other extremes. So go ahead. Continue.
Another positive, so sticking with immigration, so apparently there's a plan to create some type of tool to grant legal status for dreamers. And I mean, for those unfamiliar, the dreamer, I think that was an Obama era policy, right? So the dreamers is an Obama era. His first term?
Yeah.
It includes people that are living here. So dreamers are people living here without permission after arriving as children. So essentially their parents brought them over, not through using like our naturalization processes and as kids. So it's through no fault of these are children making decisions. So this is the only home that they know. I mean, it's just, to me, it's still, I won't get into it, but it just seems so antithetical to reason that you would deport an individual whose only home has ever been the United States. It's just so evil and intentionally cruel. And you're putting people in dangerous positions because now you're going to ship them off to a place that they don't associate as home. They don't know. Oftentimes they don't even know the language. And
well, not just that, but to also separate them from their, to separate families.
Well, yes.
Yeah. And that's also part of this too, is the hopes to talk about the main issue is, what are we going to do, or what will the administration do to address what happened during this previous administration in terms of separating children from their families? Because like they said, there's been lack of tracking. And so they need to address that.
This is an immigration question, and we don't have to go back and relitigate the November election. But do you think Trump getting beat over the head with the family separation policies and the caging of kids adversely affected him in November, or do you not think that it had really much of an effect on the election?
I think that part of it, I honestly don't. I think it just depends, right? It might be a bit subjective depending on who the person was that was voting, because that was one of those issues I do think there could, I mean, because again, on both sides, right? Like some of the with the cages and stuff, some fault, is shared with the Obama administration.
True.
Right. And so I think the only reason why we didn't hear so much of it is because COVID was pretty much, it was looming over, over everything. And so honestly, COVID and economic relief economic relief is what helped to not shine, like that's what helped not shine a light in terms of culpability of that issue, because there is some fault there on the other side. I will say that. So I can't say that. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, what I thought you were gonna say? You didn't hear much of it from Biden in debates, because as Trump acknowledged in the first debate, then Biden pretty much never mentioned it again. The next two,
he didn't.
They built the cages. I don't know if you remember Trump saying that, because Biden said,
I remember.
Cages, and Trump said, "Yeah, but you built the cages," and I'm like, "Ooh, that was pretty good, Trump."
But you know what? But that was also that awful debate. That was the first one when they were arguing back and forth. So there was
they were arguing back and forth.
Yeah. Excuse me.
Every time he had a chance to speak.
But it was just So I think what people took away from that was pure frustration. A lot of people showed up. They wanted to hear from both sides, and we only heard from Trump primarily. So again, he was able to escape that. And
that debate feels like a lifetime ago. I'm not joking.
Yeah.
I totally forgot about the nonsense of that first debate, like completely out of my mind.
I didn't.
And that was like the worst television viewing experience ever. That's all I'll say about that. I totally forgot about that debate, but that
on the eve of this
independent voters.
Yeah, but doesn't it make you feel good just knowing that like we will not have to deal with this now? Okay, there will be things that we still have to deal with, right, from him. But I'm just saying that I will not have to witness something like that. That we will not be subjected to tantrums and just every day, like on Twitter. Oh my goodness, I'm not gonna get started, but just know I'm so glad that this is it.
All right.
So well, speaking of that, because like I said, he's leaving, but the wrath of him and what he has created, that is not leaving after tomorrow. So Cliff, maybe you would like to talk about Mitch McConnell's statement earlier today.
So I think the Republican Party, anyone paying attention, it's almost insulting to hear these Republicans try to circle the wagons and really backtrack on 4 years of kind of being complicit in promoting this white supremacist in chief.
Hold on, pause. It's frustrating that it's now taken 12 years, not just 4, 12, because they started from the very moment that President Obama was inaugurated in 2009. They already had plans to be unwilling, uncompromising, and then they allowed the whole birtherism argument. So that's why I just want to correct that, because I'm like, no, it's been longer than 4 years. They've allowed this to go on for so long, and so now it's just This is on them. It really, I mean, it's so frustrating because I'm like, this whole thing, like even the insurrection, this didn't happen all because of 4 years. No, it's been looming over everyone for so long, and you created this in your messaging. I mean, when I was in college, I still distinctively remember the ads that they were running in Alabama when they talked about immigrants and like the way that they have the conversation and talking about people that are undocumented is very disturbing. So yeah, no. They've been doing this for so long. Yeah, aliens and then
they need to remove that word from all legislation. I hate that word's even. It's so odd.
Right. Exactly.
And distasteful. Just it's gross. Aliens. I've never. It's like recently I had to read in class. What was I reading? Oh, a Supreme Court ruling. This is many moons ago, and I just told them, the kids, I was like, I'm gonna replace every use of Negro with Black because it's 2021. But it's that type of language, like alien. Why are we referring to human beings as alien? It's just no. There's so many other words we could use, right?
They could use
documented.
Exactly.
You're here, right? A person in the process of receiving naturalization. Like there's so many different words you could use. Like it's just it's intellectually lazy and intentionally hurtful and divisive.
Right.
To say that.
Exactly. So I will let you continue with what Mitch had to say. Go ahead.
Yeah. So did you? I feel like you just stopped yourself from replacing the M with a B. But anyhow,
no.
That's it. I'll let you say what Mitch had to say.
So you know what? I'm so done with you.
That's what it sounded like. So Mitch McConnell. So it's interesting. So last week we heard from Liz Cheney, right? The Republican House chair came out and condemned the actions of Trump and pretty much said that he incited the mob. He lit the flame. It's like, oh, wow, this is pretty powerful language. And then today we saw something similar. Mitch McConnell, and I'll read it. Mitch McConnell essentially letting us know what happened on January 6th took place. And so Mitch McConnell today from the floor of the Senate said the last time the Senate convened, we had just reclaimed the Capitol from violent criminals. We tried to stop who tried to stop Congress from doing our duty. The mob was fed lies. They were provoked by the president and other powerful people. And they tried to use fear and violence to stop a proceeding of the first branch of the federal government, which they did not like. Now, this is the type of speaking truth to power that you were referencing, right? Because had you had courageous Republicans come out 12 years ago saying, no, we're not going to intentionally thwart the efforts of this new Black president simply because of his complexion. We're going to do the people's work and do our daggone jobs. And so if you had this type of leadership, real leadership, over a decade ago, we might not be in a position where a president could ever lead an insurrection of our national, of our federal government.
Yeah. Instead of doing the cowardice thing and going away on your deathbed and making all of these big statements, or you leave for retirement, Jeff Flake and Paul Ryan, it's Jeff just Flake. that
John Boehner.
So frustrating. Yeah, John Boehner, all of them. I mean, to me, it is very cowardice because here it is. You had the opportunity to speak up every day while you've been taking taxpayer money.
Yeah.
While in you have one of the biggest platforms. You're seen every day on TV. And you can also pitch to make a comment on national news, not just your local news channel, just saying. So to me, people like Ted Cruz, so dangerous. The representative, last name King from, he was awful. Do you know what I'm talking about? He made all those comments about immigrants.
The one who the cantaloupe calves comment.
Yes.
I know exactly who you're talking about. Yes.
But again, you have people like him who, again, they represent this many people, but then they're the loudest ones, right? He wasn't even a senator, but yet he wreaked so much havoc within the party. And did they bring him in? No. They continue to allow him to do so much harm. And then I guess, what was that, this year or last year? Sorry, 'cause we're 2021. But last year he was primary. So it's, again, I mean, Steve King from Iowa. Yes. Awful. Just, I mean, it's very frustrating. I mean, you have people like Chuck Grassley, well respected among Republicans and some of his other colleagues. But again, do not hold your feet to the fire and then say, I stand against this. But then when it comes time to vote, and then show the American people that you really are not aligned with what's happening, then you choose to say, oh, I'm going to vote no. I can't do it. Because again, you don't care about moving the country forward. You only care about yourself. And apparently you're fine with this defining your party.
So I'm looking at it from a different lens in terms of why you now are seeing Republicans start to backtrack, starting with Ted Cruz last week, with Hawley, who actually was part of inciting this nonsense, and McConnell today. They realize that Donald Trump has the potential for remaining the party's standard bearer for another 4 years. And that would be very detrimental to the party long term. And the only way that they can kind of cede power back from this evil, right, that is kind of the Donald Trump fringe base, is to now disavow all of his, like what I referred to last week as atrocities. And so, yes, to your point, it is a little too late. But again, the American electorate is not the French electorate. We're not very active. We're not very well informed. And we have a very short memory, unfortunately. And so the combination of those, what's going to happen? You can have these demagogues come into power, really say anything. And I mean, because you had an independent who was mostly Democratic his whole life come in and just take over the Republican Party. I don't know if that says more about the Republican Party or about the American electorate, but that's what happened. I'd be embarrassed if I was a Republican, but that's another conversation for another day. So if we look at this from a political standpoint, from Mitch McConnell's perspective, what can happen is if he makes a statement like this, he can get about 15 to 20 Republicans, or actually you need 22 Republicans, to agree to vote to convict Trump. And that would remove his ability when the House sends over impeachment paperwork to the Senate, they will eliminate his ability to run for public office in the future. And so with that now being off the table, Republicans will not have to fear continuing to kowtow to Trump and his I'm trying to be nice here. I'll be diplomatic, to his supporters.
There's no reason to be nice about it.
Well, because we have an inaugural tomorrow where you have an individual, 70-plus-year-old man whose claim is that he's going to be able to unify this country. And so you got to bring in Trump acolytes and folks who voted for you. Because and similar to the point that I made last week, you can't have the oppressed being expecting to in the oppression of folks. You have to have the Mitch McConnells of the world to come out and to speak like this. But the question is, after years and years and years and years of Mitch McConnell evil and hypocrisy, is Mitch McConnell going to now go on the right side of history, or is he going to continue to kind of do Satan's bidding? And we'll see.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. It's going to take, you really will need more Mitt Romney. Like, you're going to need more Mitt Romneys, right? Like someone who's actually going to, like, when they say it, their actions are aligned. That's all I'm saying. To me, I will see what happens when it comes time. Run. Oh, wow.
Mitt.
you know, I mean, honestly, you need more. You need people like him. I mean, and we no longer have Senator McCain, but he's one of those individuals, right? I guess when he did see the light, it was closer to the end of his time. And I say that in a respectful way, but now the only person that we see on that side is Mitt Romney. I mean, you have people with Mitch McConnell. Yes, he is soon to be the former Senate Majority Leader, right? But behind closed doors, if he cannot gather people in his party to vote next week or however soon they do the vote to convict Trump and impeach him finally from the Senate, I don't know, because they could have done this so long ago. And so for me, I guess I'm really trying to level my expectations. I really am. I'm not going to be, because I think I've seen for so long, and I'm a pretty optimistic person, you know, because you always say,
for sure.
Yeah.
In your preview, I think you are too, but of the two of us, you definitely are. Because I think white supremacy is going to continue to run this country. I think schools are going to continue to be negligent in addressing issues of racial injustice and racial inequities on campuses. I don't have a lot of hope. So
and so that's the point that that's the point I wanted to drive right there, what you just said. When we're saying that Joe Biden now, because that's all they've been talking about in the news cycle the last 48 hours, is that, he's saying that he'll be the president that will unify us. The only way to do that is for you to start calling these folks out and call things as they are. You need to, enough with the flowery language. It is what it is. It's white supremacy behavior. It is white nationalism. It is whiteness. It's racism. I don't understand why we try to toy the line. No, you need to be direct with these individuals, especially now because you chose to not put people of color in the spotlight to speak on these issues. So it will be. It is going to take a lot of work. I understand change is hard, but you know what? We also know how to adapt.
Yeah.
So
I love the line.
What?
Because it made me think of an article that Relinda Watts, if you guys haven't checked out relindaspeaks.com, read those pieces. But Black women can't be your sword and your shield. So it's like they prop up people of color. They prop up people of color to kind of be your shield, but you also want them to be responsible for implementing a lot of these policies. So it's like, this is fascinating. But I think that's a good segue to looking at this cabinet. Unless you had more on this, but I think that's a good segue. No. Anyone that's been following all through season 1 of Truth Hour into this season, you're familiar with our extreme disappointment with Biden's cabinet picks, because we thought this was an opportunity for the country to just kind of be overwhelmed with the experience and talent and aptitude of Black and brown folks to lead these departments and to really lead this country into a direction, into a better direction. And it's sad that the majority of the positions that went to POC were kind of mid-management level, I'll refer to them, because in terms of leading departments, there's one Black person, and it's actually illegal for him to do it. Joe Biden has to request special permission to get him to do it. General Lloyd. So I'll put up a picture of these people.
Okay.
Wrong banner. I'll put up the picture of these people.
Sorry again to the folks on Instagram.
Yeah. And let me take off this banner so you can see the whole image. All right. So this is the cabinet. You have. Ooh, it's a long list. Do you think I should read them all, or just like the major?
I think you should just read like the major.
All right.
The ones
so
who actually have more power. Yeah.
So the Secretary of State is going to be Anthony Blinken. Attorney General. These are all nominations because none of these people have been confirmed because Senate ineptitude. Mm-hmm. And actually, that's actually a fact that's important for folks who are watching tomorrow. Biden's going to be the president for the first in over like 150 years with the least cabinet nominations confirmed the day he takes office. It's only going to be 2 people by the time when he takes office tomorrow. Again, this is pretty damn. It's inexcusable in how the Senate went on vacation a week ago instead of they could have been confirming these people, but
right.
I digress. Mm-hmm. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken, Attorney General. These are all nominees. Merrick Garland, and if you remember, Merrick Garland was the nomination to fill Antonin Scalia's Supreme Court seat by former President Barack Obama. Secretary of HHS, Health and Human Services, is Javier Becerra, and he is the former Attorney General of the state of California. And also he was a House rep representing the state of California. Secretary of Defense, retired General Lloyd Austin, and this is who I was referring to because he has not been retired for, I think it's 6 years, until he's only been retired for about 3 years or so. He's actually in violation of the federal law, which requires that you do be retired for that 6 years. And as a result, Biden is going to have to request special permission for him to serve. And he's following his predecessor's footsteps because Donald Trump had to do the same thing in requesting that special permission from General Mattis because Mattis had not been retired at the required amount of time. Secretary of Homeland Security, Alejandro Mayorkas, who today during his testimony was really talking about the Capitol insurrection and what different provisions he intends to make as it pertains to security to prevent that type of violent violent attack on government installations. The Director of National Intelligence, Avril Haines, UN Ambassador Linda Thomas Greenfield, Secretary of the Treasury, Janet Yellen. I'll go just the big ones. Secretary of Housing and Urban Development, I guess that's not really a big one, Marsha Fudge. Secretary of Transportation, Pete Buttigieg. Veterans Affairs, Dennis.
Yeah.
But Buttigieg, yeah. Small town mayor makes no sense. This should have been Keisha Lance Bottom. I am going to digress on this one.
I was going to say let's talk about the big things that did happen. That are not cabinet positions, but yeah.
So former and mayor of the city of Atlanta, Keisha Lance Bottoms, rejected Biden's offer to serve as ambassador to the Caribbean, which she very well should have rejected because that's an insult. All of this, right? I mean, all of her experience and importance, how important she is to the party. It's like you're going to take her away from the 5th largest city in the country to serving as the chief executive of this major city to being ambassador to the Caribbean. No. And so she rejected that. And Biden trying to save face because he doesn't have enough people of color in his cabinet. He's like, well, I got to put her somewhere. So then he offers her the vice chair of the Democratic National Committee, and she accepts, which to me is still, she should have just said, no, thank you. You put Buttigieg in a position where I should be. I'm actually running a major city with major public transport to think about. This guy was South Bend mayor. Why would you assume he has the experience
that's
to
probably
lead?
A quarter of the size. Yeah, I don't even know
that a quarter. I don't think South Bend.
Yeah, I was like a quarter. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And so
I agree.
It's just that's the type of foolery we're dealing with because we were promised a different looking cabinet and we just didn't get it. I mean, Secretary of Energy, Jennifer Granholm. Secretary of Labor, Marty Walsh. I love the decision for the Secretary of the Interior, Deb Haaland, who will be the first Indigenous woman or Native American woman to serve in the cabinet.
Right.
For any cabinet.
And which it's, I just want to add, which is crazy that she's the first indigenous person to be in that position.
Yeah, indeed.
I mean, so so like in some ways, did they make concessions? Some will argue that they did, right? Because I think even for I know like one of the top, I think is it with DHS or with defense, they'll have one of the first female they'll have one of the first female secretaries. I don't
You
know
must be
her
talking
name.
about national intelligence, DNI, Avril Haines.
Yes, DNI. Okay, yeah. So I think for the and this always goes back to who do you have in your circle? Who do you have in your circle that you're consulting? Because that clearly is reflective of why we're not going to see people that look like the rest of America.
Well,
in power. Like, yeah.
Kansas. It looks like Kansas.
I mean,
Idaho.
yeah.
It looks like Montana.
Yeah.
It looks
So
a
I'm
whole
just
lot
saying,
more Kansas
yeah.
in that cabinet. And then they stopped off in New Mexico to pluck one out. They stopped off in Detroit to pluck another one.
Yeah, but I mean that
was definitely Wichita, Kansas. Yeah, so that if this is a bus trip, this cabinet started in Kansas, one little 5-minute stop to Detroit, 5-minute stop to New Mexico, and then it went up to Idaho and picked up another half a bus load, and then one little quick trip to Los Angeles to get a speckle, to throw in a little speckle of some color, and then it went back over to West Virginia. And,
you're too much. You are too much. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
This cabinet is trash.
Well,
I'm sorry, I'm not sorry.
No, there's no reason to apologize. Yeah. Well, it looks like our time is almost up.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you're looking forward to for tomorrow?
Besides seeing Kamala Harris sworn in? I mean, I say that's number one. Looking forward to tomorrow. I wish you had prepared me for that. let me think.
This is good.
So I'm actually interested to see. I'm going to try to assume some of your optimism, and I'm going to assume that Republicans in the gallery are going to join in standing ovations and showing some solidarity and support, which is going to help in an effort to help bring about a show of an attempt to be unified.
Okay.
I'm going to cross my fingers to hope that Biden has the courage to say the words Black Lives Matter during his inaugural and commit to getting past meaningful police reform. And I would say that's what I'm looking forward to. And because I think if he doesn't say that, coupled with this trash cabinet on the heels of a white supremacist insurrection, I mean, folks who watch our show already know how I feel. It's going to take a whole lot for me not to vote for Mitt Romney. I'm more than likely going to vote for Mitt Romney in 4 years, and so Biden's got some work to do to get state to vote for. Huh?
Man, it just flashed in front of me like Mitt Romney and Paul Ryan.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let me not even go there.
What are you looking forward to? What are you looking forward to tomorrow?
Yeah. I was like, because I'm already now in like, I've already seen the future, but no, I really haven't.
You know who it'll be next time though? Yeah. It'll be Mitt Romney and Nikki Haley. Bet.
I could see. Well, we don't know what Paul Ryan's gonna do now. They're about to really push old Trump over here to the side. If if they're able to if they're able to impeach him and stop him, you know what I mean? Like if they're able to do that, then I definitely think that there leaves room for Paul Ryan to help his party. But I'm gonna stop there. And I'm gonna talk about tomorrow, because you really dug in that bag there of optimism, Cliff. You said you would like for him to say Black Lives Matter tomorrow. You know, I was not all that. Okay, so the speech that he gave when he won in Delaware outside, it was like a big, like almost like a pep rally feel almost, or or like campaign vibe, I guess, because everyone was there with their cars, whatnot. I guess that's what we needed then. But even at in that moment, I thought that he could have said more then, and that's where I think it would have been great had he had said that, right? And so as I look back now, I wonder, because of how he kept it sort of, he nodded, he praised, Black people and other people of color that did show up to vote. I wonder, just by keeping it at that, like having that brevity, I wonder if that is why we have the cabinet we have now, right? And then the second, so I would just say, like, for tomorrow, yes, I would love for him to be able to really applaud. First of all, we need for him to really applaud Georgia. We definitely need him to say Black Lives Matter. I would like for him to, I personally, I would rather him give more specifics, like in terms of talking about how you plan to unify the country, is you laying out a vision of what it looks like to actually include people. So I think that it's very important for him to talk about our immigration policy. And if he wants to talk a little bit about our history, cool. But also take some acknowledgement and call it what it is. We need to talk about white supremacy. That right there would be because I just think, like, let's keep using these. If you're going to have a platform to have the world's attention, right? Because it's not just us, like here in America, that are watching, but it's billions of people that will see this message, not just tomorrow, but that will look back on this. So I think it's very important to acknowledge the time that we're in, and he has to say it. I mean, he's an old white male. He needs to be. It can come from his mouth, and people. Yeah, he might be a little shaken, but so that's good. You are
an old white man. An old white man who is the architect of the '94 crime bill. Continue.
Yes, exactly. And so I just think that it's important tomorrow for him to be able to call things as they are, because I don't need you to say, like, we're a divided country. Why are we a divided country? Why? I need you to say that, because everyone keeps saying that we're divided, but it's just like, tell us more. Why are we so divided? That right there would help. I mean,
you hit them all upside the head. Yeah, that right there.
That right there would probably solve. Yeah, I mean,
that's gonna make the highlights for y'all. For y'all who are on my IG, you're gonna see that on the highlights. FYI.
I could not, but yeah. So I would just say that, and then man, there was something else, Cliff. I think the main, yeah. So that definitely has to happen tomorrow. And then as I'm thinking about the inauguration, this is not a traditional inauguration, right? I understand they want to be able to do some of the same things, but we also need to really think about what.
Distance.
Hello. distance, COVID. I hope people are being safe. Don't try to take my girl Kamala out just yet. Just saying. Keep everyone safe, but just saying. So I don't know. I lost my other point, but go ahead.
I wonder if you most Black people, we think back 12 years, we think of the first inaugural and just watching that gorgeous Obama family kind of walk down then Pennsylvania, now Black Lives Matter way or Parkway. It was frightening because we wanted him to make it to the stage. Because just thinking, okay, how is this going to end? What's going to happen?
Yeah.
And it's like the nerves and just going through that. It's like, okay, is there going to be a sniper? Is there going to be like a bomb? What's going to happen? So I think it's going to be that similar feeling with Kamala tomorrow. And for me, it's going to be just kind of like, just kind of anxiously like, all right, can we make it through this day without a repeat of January 6th? Can we make it through this day and have it just be another beautiful ceremony like what we're used to? And to your point, I think with the new COVID protocols, it's not going to be a major crowd, and that's okay. I imagine we're going to hear from the clown in chief that, he didn't get as big a crowd. He's not as popular. That there's COVID protocols, but that's what's going to be on my mind, and it's going to be impossible for me to kind of shake that idea that something catastrophic is going to happen. Because to go from 8 years of a brilliant Black man to a white supremacist, what the hell is this country going to do after a Black woman is second in command? We'll see. We shall see.
Yeah, that is true. Well, I
got to get the music ready.
It's okay. It's okay. I'm gonna stay hopeful for tomorrow. And we'll have lots to discuss, I know, next week. So I don't want us to get cut off because it will shut off on Instagram. But yeah, I don't have anything else, Cliff.
Me either. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. We'll see you next week on season 2, episode 3. And I guess the title will be something like Inaugural Response, or just kind of updating on what happened. What a week from today, we'll talk about what happens tomorrow. And stay tuned. And hopefully it'll be the speech hit this point and this point and this point. They missed the mark on this point. But also, as we talk, we keep telling folks to temper their expectations. Joe Biden is not Barack Obama. He's not Dr. King. I'm sure
that's a good point.
You listen to a whole lot of Dr. King speak. He is not that kind of orator. He never has been. He never will be. What we need to pay attention to is what did his speechwriters prepare for him to deliver best as Joe Biden can deliver it.
You know what, Cliff? I appreciate you. I appreciate you for saying that. That's very true. He is not a Barack Obama. That's right. So y'all need to stay glued to that television. If you need to put little captions on, then you do that. That's funny.
Yeah, he ain't Obama. I guess that's probably an unfair kind of comparison. He ain't Carson Daly or Ryan Seacrest. It's going to be he's going to deliver it.
All right. Okay. He is. You are trifling to muscle new Ryan.
I mean, I'm saying.
On that note, everyone, thank you for tuning in tonight. We're gonna go.
Bye.